Welcome back to the Atypical Hunter podcast. This is Chris Begbie. My co-host Kyle Mork unfortunately could not handle the media fame after our first episode and is not with us today, but he'll be back for the next one. We've got a great episode for you today with Sam Schaefer from Titanium Archery Products, aka TAP. I think you're really going to enjoy it. So, Sam Schaefer, owner of TAP. I guess that's what people refer to you as now.
Yes.
What's kind of your background and where did your archery or hunting career start? I guess is a good place to begin.
Okay. Well, let me give you a little bit, kind of background on myself, just as a person as well.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's exactly it.
Yeah, I'm 42, and I've been into bow hunting and archery for this will be my 27th year coming up. So I got into it as about 17-year-old, 16-year-old or so.
Mm-hmm.
And, still I'm married with 2 kids, 2 boys, and, my background in archery certainly contributed greatly to my vision for TAP, but more so I think what drove a lot of this is my fascination with performance, extracting the most you possibly can from anything you're involved in life.
Right.
And, that's really my mentality. There's really never good enough in my view. And that's a curse and a blessing because, it can drive you crazy because at some point you do have to accept perhaps that you can't improve a product any further or that, your own personal performance as a shooter, you may have maxed out potentially to some extent.
Right.
So those are the kinds of things that I have in my head that are always rolling around that drive what I do in the product development.
Gotcha. So 17 years old, you started hunting with a bow. That's kind of the first foray into that world.
Yeah, I had hunted, guns, up from 12 and up here in VA. That's the youngest at that point in time you could hunt was 12. And, so that interested me. I loved it at that time. I continued to gun hunt for a while, but I liked the idea of, it really appealed to me that I would get extra time in the woods. I think that was the biggest reason I wanted to get out with the bow, is that I got extra time in the woods and it was a better time of the year to be out. So, that's probably why I picked up a bow at that point. And once I realized that archery is incredibly addicting and it's a different experience. And, shooting an arrow is such a different experience than shooting a firearm.
Right.
And, that's what hooked me at that point.
It's completely different for me. I had a completely different upbringing, I guess, with the hunting thing. I was always a fisherman. My dad and I were really big into fishing, and I'm only getting into the archery side of things just this year. So it's kind of become an obsession really quickly.
It certainly can.
I'm like that. I got my dad's old Hoyt from 1988 is what I'm shooting right now.
Wow.
And it shoots great. It works fantastically.
Yeah.
But there's just as I'm discovering new things and what a new bow can do compared to old bows and the progression there, I'm like, this is such a rabbit hole that I could go down here. And
it is, and that's why TAP exists, to be quite honest, is that there are a lot of people like myself and like you're learning, is that it's almost an endless array of upgrades and changes you can make.
Much to my wife's dismay.
Right. I know that routine too. If it weren't for me running this and having access to all the products I do and being able to get multiple bows now because we're affiliated with companies and things, if I had those items and I wasn't running the company, I think I'd be in some serious hot water.
Yeah, I find myself running into that pretty soon. So we'll see as I kind of progress in my search for my next bow. That's going to be an interesting conversation to have for sure.
It is, and you look at automobiles, they've accelerated in price beyond, I think, probably what was anticipated over time. And same with bows.
Is it the same?
Very similar. You look at the rate of increase in retail price on those, and yes, they have reached a point that is still shocking to even many people. I think. You brought up Hoyt. They're on the upper end of that spectrum.
Right.
And you have some bows that are 1,500 to 2,000. When you're looking at carbon risers.
So when you were 17, what were they? What were prices like back then?
If I can even remember, the top of the line don't get 5,300 or so at that point. 350
Wow.
maybe at most.
Right. So we're looking at 5 times as expensive at least for some of these things.
I can remember. Now average is about $999 to $1,100 for your flagship bows. I mean, for the most part, but I remember when bows hit around 500, 600. That seemed shocking that it hit that point, and then it just continued to grow. And so I don't know that you can make an argument that the value has not necessarily increased to the point that the price is in alignment with that, but people are continuing to buy these, and as long as companies can sell product for whatever price, they're going to continue to do that.
Well, what was interesting was I was testing some bows out last weekend just to get a feel for what I liked and didn't like and things like that. And gentleman next to me was shooting, and he said he buys a new bow every year and a half. And
that's pretty common.
I'm just thinking, is that really how quickly the technology is advancing?
No, that's not it at all.
So
it's not. If you want to know what it is, it's slick marketing. That's what it is.
Right.
And it's also we have an innate desire for what we perceive to be the next iteration or the next generation of something, or the next improvement of something. And being a business owner and looking at our own product lines, I recognize that is a necessary part of what we do. You have to put a new wrinkle on a product that may not be that much different, but in order to keep interest at high levels, that's what you do. So now, in our case, if you go back to the beginning and looking at the prototypes we developed and everything, there's a really solid basis for the performance advantage. So going forward, that is the mentality we need to have, is that each new version of something that comes out does have to have some improvement available in it.
Right.
It can't just be purely aesthetic. That is something I don't like about archery, about, even when you're talking about bow choices. A lot of it is purely in the eye of the beholder. It's not necessarily a difference in performance. You go back, in my view, 5 years, 4 or 5 years. I don't think since then there's been a tremendous increase in the technology. I think they're pretty maxed out on bow technology, in my view.
Right.
Efficiency, the level of efficiency that they can achieve without going to some beyond reasonable cost materials. There's really no further, I think, that bows can get in terms of speed, sound levels, just overall weight that they have. It's fascinating to talk about, but
I mean, just looking at the shapes of things is completely different to what it was too.
Yes.
And like the designs of the limbs and risers and all that.
Yep.
I mean, that's pretty crazy. The
differences. I have some ideas for incorporating some of our concepts and our products into bows. And I hope that I get that opportunity. We're working pretty closely with that, and so I can see down the line some really innovative things being put into bows in terms of noise, in terms of vibration. I don't know that you're going to see. In my opinion, you'll never see a 400 foot per second IBO rating on a bow. It's not possible. I don't think it's possible.
You just don't think with the physics involved that they'll get there?
No. The level of efficiency that they can achieve will not. It's not possible.
Right. Because we're seeing like 350 is like kind of a max right now.
The fastest that I'm aware of has been about 370.
Oh wow.
370 or so, 372. There's some bows out there that have gone to that point. But you sacrifice something. You always sacrifice something when you get those kinds of speeds. And when you're looking at your new bows, keep that in mind. My long history in archery has told me that you don't want to sacrifice shootability. You don't want to sacrifice your ability to place the arrow consistently forced. Not in archery. It's just not worth it.
Right. So have stabilizers? I mean, stabilizers are something that your company TAP specializes in. I mean,
yes.
A lot of things for hunting, pretty nice looking stabilizers for target shooting as well. Has that advanced pretty significantly over the years? I mean, what was a stabilizer like 15 years ago?
Well, I'm going to go back, say, to more or less when I started and think about what they were like then. They didn't change a whole lot from when I started until about 10, maybe 12 years ago. But at that point, you literally may have had a solid chunk of steel. I mean, they were machined out of solid billet, just a piece of steel or a piece of aluminum too.
Mm-hmm.
That just perhaps had some ability to add weights to it. But many people at that point in time did not even believe that it was necessary. And you rarely saw bow hunters with stabilizers. It just was not common.
Right.
So, so here in Pennsylvania, I feel like we're fighting to some extent. There's a lot of old school, I kind of just put it that way, old school mentality,
mm-hmm.
that people are stuck in their ways. And I have a lot of hunters around me that probably still don't use stabilizers and you would have a hard time convincing them that they actually can improve their performance with them. But, the data speaks for itself. We have a lot of data to back us up now. But that is the case.
Right.
There are a lot of guys, and I use a side stabilizer in all my hunting. That is really foreign concept to a lot of bow hunters.
So where did that start? Is it the target archery crowd that started with the stabilizers, and then I feel like that's usually progression. It starts in target and then kind of moves to the hunting side of things.
Well, when it comes to those kinds of enhancements, yes, that's where it was brought over from more so because there was clearly a physical advantage there, and that was acknowledged that in target archery, yes, it helps these guys. A lot of people would look at that as, well, that's for those competition guys. That's for the target. But yes, people that care adapted it.
And I guess the goal is to be as efficient as possible all the time, right? So
absolutely. If you can eliminate even just a few shots out of 100 that are errant, which we've seen that you can do considerably better than that with the right kind of gear. If you can even improve your efficiency a little bit, your odds of making a very ethical, clean shot in a tension-filled situation in the woods when your adrenaline's going, any advantage you can have on your bow to give you stability, to give you, improve your form perhaps, or help you control and have a more forgiving bow, because your form is certainly not at its peak when you're drawing down on a beautiful buck.
Yeah.
I can tell you that from experience.
Right.
So those are the things you need to consider. And I split hairs. I'll admit it. I mean, to me, it's a big deal if I improve accuracy by 1 inch to 2 inches in group size at 50 to 60, 70, 80 yards. Maybe not to some people, but to me, that's a big deal.
Oh, for sure. I'm being a new hunter, archery wise, I'm absolutely petrified of not having a clean kill on a deer, basically. So if there's any way that I can help eliminate that chance, I mean, there's always a chance in that, right? So that's just a part of the activity. But I'm completely with you. If I can get rid of that at least a little bit,
to some extent, sure.
I'm definitely going to be doing that. So go ahead.
I was going to say, and when it comes to practicing with what you hunt with, it is so key, because as you build confidence in archery and as you see success, you will attribute that to the setup that you have in your hands, whatever's part of that setup. And so there's a psychological kind of, I look at it as almost like a snowball effect. You start to build success and you see what you're accomplishing it with. Carrying that into the woods brings an additional level of just ability and confidence of what you're going to do, what you're going to try to do when you're there. And that can't be understated in archery, the psychological aspect of it.
Which to me, it's pretty funny you said that, because to me, you would want to continue using something that you're comfortable with, right?
You would think, but that's not always the case.
And then something new comes out, and you need to get the next best thing. So it's this constant hypocrisy, basically, of equipment and improving and equipment and improving every single time. But it makes sense. I mean, you want to do better, so you think, hey, if I can spend $100 on this new thing and I can do better, you're going to do that. So,
and maybe you can, maybe you can't. But
right.
sometimes, I see a lot of examples. We're big on social media. So TAP is, we're big on following what's happening on Instagram. That's
right.
one of the reasons we exist, is getting that engagement we've gotten. But I watch it, and I use that as a barometer to some degree of gauging where archery is, where archers are in their mentality. And you see a lot of people swapping bows all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I heard guys who go through 3 or 4 bows a year because they decide something about it doesn't suit them. Huh. How do you know? How could they possibly have shot it enough to know that? And my view is there are very few bows that are lemons anymore. If you give me one of the top manufacturers, one of their better bows, it may not feel exactly the same as what my ideal is, but I can shoot it well. And so I don't know what it is that sometimes strikes people's fancy and why they drop bows quickly. But you can't accurately say that bow is not good for me, I can't shoot it well, when you only put in a month or 2 on it.
Right. So back to your point about the social media and kind of increasing the presence there. I mean, TAP has almost 30,000 followers on Instagram, which is huge. Has there been, have you seen, since TAP's been around, an increase in archery hunting in general, let alone just kind of exposure on the social media platforms?
I don't think it's increasing in any way because of us. I
guess just more in general. Are you seeing a trend of more people hunting or anything along those lines?
I would say no.
Okay.
I would say that the data out there shows that the bow hunting population is declining, especially amongst males. But it has been increasing in some areas with women and youth to some extent. Crossbows do play a factor there, though.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think that's that's a dicey subject. I have my own opinions about whether or not a crossbow should be compared to a vertical bow in terms of its ease of use. Whether it should be included in archery seasons, well, that's tough to say. But I do think that has encouraged some people to get into the sport because it's seen as an easier entry.
Has there been crossover, you think, of people going from crossbow to a regular bow?
I think it's less of that than people going from a regular bow to a crossbow.
Oh, interesting. I mean, my personal opinion is I'd rather have a crossbow season than a crossbow and archery season be put together. I think it's just completely different. I mean, you can have a scope on it and a trigger, and there's no, you're not drawing. There's a lot less pressure on the hunter to perform.
Yeah, I don't know how many people listen to this or will listen to this, but I can guarantee you, if at least 5 to 10 people hear this, there will be a few that will be irritated with.
That's all right. Everyone can have an opinion.
Well, they should. And look, and I don't in any way say that if something is a legal form it's a legal weapon to use, then by all means, if that's what you want to use, be proficient with it and use it.
Right.
But I just take issue with saying it's comparable to a vertical bow because to stand up in your tree stand or to maneuver yourself into position, draw your bow, and then hold potentially for a long period of time if you're not where you want it, it's not the right shot. That's difficult.
Oh, yeah.
And to do that without getting busted by the deer is very difficult.
Right.
If I could just sit a crossbow on a rail, like on a ladder stand on a rail and just hold it there for as long as I wanted, well, I don't know how you can't say that's a pretty big advantage.
Exactly. I completely agree.
So, and I'm not putting you down if that's what you use. Great.
Right. Yep.
Kill deer with it. Awesome. The clean kills. Great. It's just not, we're not comparing apples to apples.
Yeah. Completely. So, let's talk a little bit about more of the stabilizers. You make yours out of titanium, I would imagine.
Correct. Yeah, the majority of the stabilizer. Well, let's see. Let's start at the beginning.
Yeah, let's kind of walk through the history of what you guys been doing.
Right. So the very first model was the same alloy we use now. We use a grade 9. It was just a straight tube, and it had end caps basically that were steel and had a thread on it so you could thread with your bow. And then we put material inside because I knew that would be necessary to help damp some of the additional energy and vibration. So it started out just like that, and then eventually morphed into these different variants that we have now, where we have CNC machine components that are going over the ends. We have so they're steel, they're aluminum, but still the body of the stabilizer, whether it's a small diameter one like the Element X, or whether it's a combination of diameters like our hybrid model, which has titanium and carbon in it. So there's been all these offshoots to some degree on the original design. The concept of titanium has remained, and I didn't get into this in my background. I should have. I have experience with titanium in the softball world, slope pitch.
Okay.
So I used to do those custom softball bats. This was around 2003, 2005.
Was that sort of your first foray into the engineering world? Was bats?
Yeah, and seeing what titanium offered, seeing the level of energy return that it could offer, and the level of durability that it offered, and thinking, as time went on, it just occurred to me that experience, what I learned from that, could easily be applied to archery, and that's what I had far more passion for, is archery. So why wouldn't I do it? It wasn't to start a business. It was to see if this worked or not.
So were you just doing that for your own personal experience on the onset? You wanted to make a better stabilizer for yourself?
Yes and no. I did, but almost simultaneously, it occurred to me.
People are going to want this. That sort of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. It quickly occurred to me that if I can make this and it works, I have a business plan.
Right. So what was the first one you came up with? It was the just the titanium tube, and then how did it progress from there?
Well, that was a suppressor. We just call it a suppressor.
Okay.
And then it progressed to developing inserts out of different grades of steel we use as we went along, and then it progressed into what was called the suppressor elite. So that was a 1-inch outer diameter, straight wall all the way down, no taper or anything. And that was around for a good period of time, about a year and a half or so. We sold a lot of those, but it's a rather clean looking stabilizer. It doesn't have, any of the eye-catching appeal or the sexiness, if you will, that the newer models we put out do. And I had to give in to this notion that you need to make it appealing to the eye, because it's not just about performance for a lot of buyers out there. It's not. I wish it were.
Right.
But a lot of people pick products because it catches their eye for some reason. That looks cool. That has a camo that matches my camo. I'll buy it.
Right.
It's like,
superficial reasons, really.
Absolutely. But if you can reel that person in because it matches the color that they have or whatever it might be, and then show them at the same time, this is a superior product.
Right.
Then win.
Which I find pretty interesting with bows, how they've kind of developed. I'm new to it, obviously, but if you look at something like the iPhone or cars or something like that, everyone that's manufacturing these seems to be going to a more simplified, minimalist type of design, and bows seem to be going the other direction with a lot of things. And
some of them, yes.
And what draws me to yours is it's super sleek and not ostentatious in any way. It looks like a solid, well built product.
Yeah.
And a lot of other ones you see, they have like these helix designs out there and all these weird things.
And they'll say there's a performance basis for that.
Right.
The company that make, and I'm not going to name names of companies, but I know which one you're probably thinking of. And they'll say there's a reason for that, and it's less affected by wind because it has these cutouts. Okay, that might be a basis for that. But we make a very thin diameter stabilizer that has less surface profile.
Right.
So it doesn't need to have holes in it. And putting the holes in it eliminates our ability to put damping material inside. So there's physical reasons why we would do that, but then there's also just my staunch opposition to doing that, even if it's to some degree going to limit some of the sales you can get. I just won't. I'm like you. I love simplistic but effective.
Right.
Simple does not mean unsophisticated. Simple does not in any way mean that, but people perceive it that way.
Yeah, the funny thing, most of the time, it's the complete opposite.
I know. It's funny, but it's true. I mean, coming from that perspective, I just want things to function and function at a high level.
Right.
And that's what drives this. So people will say, well, why haven't other companies done what you did? Why are other companies not jumping on, or didn't they previously jump on the titanium bandwagon? Well, look, most companies would sell to retailers or sell to distributors who sold to retailers. And that limits your ability, it really does, to put high-end materials into a product. With social media exploding, with having this at your fingertips, and me having a pretty good knowledge and being pretty adept at it, well, we just developed the direct-to-consumer model. And that allows us to build a better product.
Right, so you can control it from soup to nuts, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't have to worry about giving distributor 40 to 50%, and then the dealer getting his 35%.
Right. So, what should a stabilizer feel like now on a modern bow? I mean, if you were to shoot a bow without it compared to one with one of yours, what should you expect?
Well, a stabilizer, if what you feel after the shot is how people often judge a stabilizer, but it shouldn't be what you're judging it on. A stabilizer should feel to you, I mean, if you could perceive it, but it's difficult during that shot cycle to actually perceive what a stabilizer is doing. If you watch our videos, though, we have a high-speed camera, and we slow those videos down. So literally, it's you're seeing what's happening within hundredths of a second. And you can watch the control that the bow is exhibiting, or the lack of movement, because the stabilizer is providing some of that energy absorption that's occurring during that period. That's what you want. But can you feel that? That's debatable. You can see the effects of that in your improved accuracy. You can see a good stabilizer bringing you onto target very quickly and limiting the float that you'll have in your pin. That's something a well-weighted, correctly balanced setup will give you. But after the shot, by the time you're registering whatever it is you feel in your hand or your perception of it, the arrow isn't the target.
Yeah.
It's irrelevant.
We're not fast enough to compute that.
No.
So how do you balance? How does it get balanced properly? How would I know if I have that set up properly?
Well, you wouldn't base it just on holding the bow in your hand and seeing if it balances in your hand. Some people do that.
Because I know a lot of stabilizers are, adjustable weights on the ends and things like that.
Oh yeah, it's a big part of it.
How does one go about knowing the right way to do that?
Shooting. Trust me. You need to get on the range. You need to have stabilizers that are adjustable enough to offer you the ability to play with the options a little, have weights, and find out what is ultimately producing shot after shot, the ability for you to draw, get to anchor, and find your pin almost already where you want it. And then follow, and then the ability to hold through the shot correctly, keep your form, keep your back tension, and ultimately, where's the arrow hitting? Is it hitting consistently where I want it? That sounds like a cop-out answer maybe, but it's not. You can't, there's no formula. There's a general rule of thumb, if you want, when it comes to front stabilizers and how they're weighted versus side stabilizers and how they're weighted. Start at a 1 to 2. So if you have 3 ounces on your front stabilizer, go with 6 on your side, and then start there.
And that just seems to be the golden ratio to front to side.
Start.
Yeah,
that's what I typically use, especially for hunting setups. But look at target guides, look at competition shooters. They'll be vastly above that ratio. They may have 20, 25 ounces on the side stabilizer. They're a little more in some cases.
Right. And I'm seeing a lot of these string stops now. Is that strictly just to stop vibration, or does that play any role in bouncing the bow out as well?
Well, when we developed it, it was developed for sound suppression, and it was developed for vibration control, so that you wouldn't feel some of that post-shot resonance that people are so much averse to. And a lot of people will judge a bow's quality on that if they feel something in their hand after the shot. So string stop can help with that. But what we've realized, and watching these videos is that the string stop is actually doing a fair amount to help limit the recoil of the bow as the arrow is leaving. So if the arrow is still in the arrow rest, and I know we're talking again about hundredths of a second here, but if the arrow is still on the arrow rest, as the videos show, and you can limit even just thousandths of an inch of movement on the bow, that translates to bigger distances downrange. So what we saw with the string stop is that when it was on versus a stock string stop, the bow was exhibiting less movement during the shot. And we're realizing now that there's accuracy improvements as well, but it's not seen that way by most people. Very few people realize that on the string stop.
Yeah, I would not have guessed that, but I guess if you're weighting that properly and it provides that benefit, why not take advantage of it?
Sure.
Right.
I mean, watch our video. Watch anybody listen. Watch the videos we have on YouTube and we have on our website. Where the string stop, you'll see the bar, the titanium bar, that's the side where the string contacts, is actually flexing. And it's flexing to the point that it is absorbing a lot of that force. And it's not able to get to the bow itself. It's actually being mitigated right there. So that's what you want. And you would be shocked. You'd be shocked. A lot of people would be shocked to see how much the string oscillates during that shot cycle. People are so surprised when they see how many times the string bounces.
Just goes back and forth. Yeah.
Yes. The cables, everything's moving. And people are like, wait, that's my bow doing that? Yes, it is. Yeah.
So what do you see as the future of TAP? I mean, where do you guys go from here? Continue developing stabilizers and accessories? And you mentioned Athens earlier. That could be some sort of collaboration down the road, but 5 years from now, where are you hoping TAP gets you to?
There's not a grand vision or necessarily a big long-term goal that we need to reach. It's more about maintaining a status, I believe. It's more about maintaining a perception that we are leaders. Whatever that ultimately leads to, I'm okay with, because I don't need this to be wildly successful. And let's face it, you're an archer. Okay? The archery industry is a niche.
Yeah.
And no one's really going to get, quote, rich in archery. So that can't be your goal, is to make boatloads of cash. But it can be a goal to stay at the forefront on whatever particular product iteration you're on. You want to be seen as the leader in that. And that's my goal. So it will require redevelopment over time. It will require new innovations on stabilizers, everything we do. And bows, I would love to get involved with designing bows, but I'm afraid that my ideas would be too expensive for a lot of bows.
Because of materials, or why would that be?
Yeah, mainly materials. There's some phenomenal things that could be done. And I talked to Hoyt a while back, one of their engineers. He had reached out to us about our string stops. He shared the same thing. He said, "Look, I'm an engineer. I have multiple patents to my name." He said, "There's so many things I could do if I was given the freedom to do it,
right?
The money to do it." I said, "Great, you got it, but they'll shoot you down if it's a couple dollars difference in production. That's too expensive."
Yeah.
I said, "Well, do you want to really put something out there as revolutionary or not?" And maybe that's part of the problem, is you don't want to shake the boat too much.
Don't be too radical.
Yes, because as hunters, we're a little bit resistant to change.
Yeah.
So,
but if it works for somebody, someone else will pick up on it eventually, and then it's a snowball effect from there, right?
Right, and that's why. So that's why I've done what I did, because I didn't fear failing at it. I don't have anybody to impress or to prove anything to, really. It's just, this is what we want to do. So this is what we're going to do. People won't accept it, so be it.
Right.
And that's what I want to keep. So that's really my goal, is that I don't want to lose the ability to do that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I'm going to ask you one last question, and I'll let you go. I know you got a family and a business to run. So any hunting trips planned, or anything interested you have planned for the upcoming deer season?
Not in particular, other than hunting. I hunt Maryland and hunt PA. So last year was an awesome year. still my biggest buck that I've ever taken. And I'm a little worried that I'll have a letdown this year on that.
Peak too early?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I felt poor last year, and I just did a good season. But I don't know. I mean, I've been invited to a lot of states, and eventually that's another side goal, if you will. So I want to be able to break away from this day-to-day. It's almost a prison in a way, running a business on your own, because you are so responsible for everything. So that's I don't have anything in particular like that planned at this point, but that is a vision of mine, is to be able to do that.
Yeah, well, I'd love to see it. You gotta once you do something like that, you've got to do one of those solo hunt style film jobs and go from there.
Do you want to get on it?
Yeah, I'm definitely in. I was talking to my buddy Charlie today about going to Colorado for elk, getting an over-the-counter tag, and he dropped the bomb on me that it's not going to be this fall, it's going to be next fall, because he wants his younger brother to go, who's going to be in the police academy at that time, so he can't do that with us.
Cool, though. That's cool. And who cares if you harvest it? It's just getting out there and seeing that and experiencing it.
Right.
And the challenge of it, the public land aspect of it. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And we put, Kyle and I and another buddy of ours, we put in for Kentucky elk tags with whatever archery or firearm. And that drawing is in 16 days, May 18th, I believe. They're letting everybody know if they got one or not. But the odds are not in our favor, I don't think. I think they had 70,000 applications last year and 900 people got one, but
Wow, that ratio is not that great. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're telling me there's a chance. So you never know.
Right.
You never know.
No, you don't.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Well, I appreciate the time, Sam.
Absolutely.
Tap seems like a fantastic company. I appreciate everything you've been working on and putting out there, and when I get my new bow set up, I'm definitely going to be probably looking at that hybrid stabilizer that you have out.
Well, definitely talk to me before you decide, so I can give you some input.
I will. I'll definitely do that. But again, I appreciate it. Good luck with the business, and I hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you. Greatly appreciate it.
All right. Well, thanks, Sam. Have a good night.
You too.